welcome back to our special show this Thursday with Dave Bassett, the former Sheffield United and many others manager. 7 clubs, I think it was in total. Seven clubs in the league. I'm talking about. Was it 7?
Wimbledon, Watford, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Barnsley, Leicester, and caretaker at Southampton.
Southampton with Harry Redknapp.
That's right, yeah.
For a short time, must have been interesting.
Yeah, it was. Harry's an interesting fella. He's a bit different when he's managing a football club to what he is,
On I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But
in what way?
Well, he's not as happy-go-lucky as when he's at a club. He's quite intense and he takes defeats badly. Which we all do differently. But it is a different scene. He's funny. I mean, if you're doing well, he's there. But he finds defeats not the easiest.
No, well, you used to have your say about a defeat, mind you, didn't you? Was that just getting it out of your system straight away?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Yeah, there was probably sometimes I went on a bit too long after games. I should have left stuff. I mean, there was if I was really had the ump and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Then they knew they were in then. But sometimes I think you've got to have it there. Possibly people could say, well, the players won't necessarily take it in. Well, sometimes the manager's got to give vent to his feelings. As really, But
Did you feel better after that yourself?
Yeah, sometimes, but there was sometimes where I think I went on a bit too much then. I was a bit too critical. So, perhaps driving home after the game. But the thing I did is, I very rarely ever stayed in on a Saturday night. I always went out with the wife because it was not her fault if we lost. And, I used to switch off. By the time I walked through the door, that was... I might wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning thinking about it, but that night we were going out, and I think it was only probably over me 1,000 games. I think it was about 6 times I said, look, I don't really want to go out tonight, And
really, that's very few.
Yeah, very few. Yeah,
very.
I thought, well, what's the point? I can't do anything about it now. We can't do anything at the training. I can't speak to anybody. Let's go out and enjoy yourself and have a glass of wine and chat about a few other things other than football.
It was certainly very good. We used to await you. With great anticipation. As a journalist, a collection of us, we thought, wow, Harry's going to have a right pop tonight. You fill a notebook of your quotes. But the one time when you were absolutely rendered speechless was the Nottingham Forest win, when you've gone 16 games without winning, after you got promotion to the First Division. And I think you won at something like
17th or 18th
against Nottingham Forest. And I remember waiting on the end of that corridor thinking there'll be some good quotes tonight, good comments tonight. You'd won 3-2. You never appeared. And I think they had to scrape you up off the dressing room floor at some unearthly hour because you downed a bottle of scotch that night.
Well, not quite like that. And I think Greavesy exaggerated that a bit, but I wasn't in a mood to sort of come out. I was just sort of exhausted, and I think we just sat in there and had a few drinks and savoured it. And
because you must have thought, I'm never going to win another match ever again.
Well, I knew we would because the time was there. We weren't playing that bad. We want sometimes getting the rubber, the green and everything else. But the good thing was the lads kept the faith. They kept working. They never let me down commitment-wise, working. And you just know somewhere along the line we're going to win a few. Whether we're going to win enough to stay up, I couldn't predict that. But I thought if we get a few wins and all of a sudden the confidence comes. I mean, we did win a couple. We lost a couple. We didn't exactly. It wasn't till sort of the end of February where we went through February and more or less most of April and won 7 games out of 8, and those 21 points were invaluable. It just flew us up, and we finished 13th in the league, which was amazing, really, because I think we were bottom of the league in February. We was actually bottom of the league in February in the first season in the Premier League. We had 25 points and we lost to Manchester United at home in the league. We'd beaten them in the we beat them in the FA Cup. Sorry, that's the year we went to the semi-final. We beat them, and then we beat Middlesbrough 2-0 to go off the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, it was an eventful time, a wonderful time, and I know that the good times now come back, and you're enjoying this, albeit from afar. But you've got, I know, a great relationship with Chris Wilder, who's one of your players, that you speak occasionally. You insist that you're not his mentor, that he's his own man. But there are, to those of us who've worked with, had the pleasure of working with both of you, perhaps one or two similarities. He had that adaptable persona in terms of who he was around, who he's around at any one time, Chris Wilder, just as you had. And Jeff Taylor used to refer to whatever head Harry's got on today. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Well, that was
what was that skill about?
Well, they, they used to decide whether, Frenchie and Wally and Jeff, they decided when they first saw me on a Monday morning or a Tuesday what head I had on.
Yes.
So they decided either if they had things to say, they might think, not sure this is the right time to do it, or this is the right time to strike. So, it was one of them, that Jeff used to sort of come in and scout me and then go and report, I should keep quiet, lads, he's not in a very good mood this morning. And that, so,
There's a bit of Chris about that, I think, but in terms of the fact that he somehow has that ability to be one of the lads and celebrate with his players and have a good time with them, and yet absolutely be the boss in the next instant.
Well, it's hard to do that, and you can do it.
You were able to do it.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved their company, and I loved being there. And I mean, again, I can remember me and Carl Bradshaw, wrestling for about an hour on the boat from Finland to Sweden. we were there, and it was good. I mean, most managers wouldn't do that, and it's not easy. I mean, really, Sheffield United was the last place I was able to do that because I was getting older, and the players were different. It was just that the Wimbledon and Sheffield United, I had the players who had that, who were Dame Whitehouse, Mitch Ward, Vinny, Trace, Gannon. They were all that ilk where there was a spirit about it, and I enjoyed their company, I enjoyed the fun. But of course, when I wasn't picking them, they hated me. But at the other times, they realised I was, being honest with them, and I never let my feelings that I might like somebody as a person a little bit more than somebody else, and I'm going to pick them in the team. It was really picking a team what I thought was going to win the game. And I think Chris is the same type. I think he's definitely his own man.
And do you detect some of the same spirit, albeit that you might not get away with some of the pranks that you and your players got up to in those days?
Yeah.
But there is something similar about it.
Oh, definitely. He's got a good team spirit there, and they obviously respect him. They know they can't mess with him, but at the same time, they know that he's fully with them, and he's going to enjoy the good times with them, and he's going to, have the bad times, and he'll have to cope with that as well.
He's got characters who police that dressing room.
Well, I'm sure he has, yeah.
Just as probably you had.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you've always got some players who are quieter than others and get on with it, but join in. But then you've got the ones who've got more to say and are sort of a bit more outgoing as such. But if you've got the spirit, even the quiet ones, when they come out and say something, all of a sudden you think, let's listen to that, because they don't often say too much or anything else.
Well, Sheffield United has never been known for its boardroom stability, can we say, in terms of the characters who've been chairman over the years. Probably the closest to it has been the Kevin McCabe era, although that's been fractured now, and with the turmoil that's gone on. I mean, you had to live with it. Chris Wilder seems able to somehow divorce himself and the team from it and just carry on.
I think you've got to. I mean, Chris did speak to me about management and various things on that. And, I said to him, we're not in a position. We don't know what's going on. It's not our business in the boardroom. You have to cope with what's going on. I said I didn't really happy with Reg and the situation, but, I understood he had money in the club and there was very little I could do about it. I was upset when he sold Brian Dean. We should have done that earlier, and we could have done a bit more because he left it to the last moment. I'd have rather him said Brian Dean's definitely going at the end of the season instead of waiting until July when we're just back from there. But I mean, that was a different type of thing. But again, really, we don't know what goes on. and particularly with Chris's situation, you know, legal and all that, you know, we don't know what's there. We're football people, really. You know, you've just got to get on with the job. And again, I'm pleased that he's not used any boardroom upheavals to suggest that their performances might have been affected. And I never did. I never gave the players the opportunity to say, you know, what's going on with the board. To be fair, I think, you know, it became a joke, particularly when Sam Massimi was about. You know, I mean, you know, I saw him as a man in Sheffield, and then when Reg took us to Brunei, he was wearing a bikini by the beach. You know, so it was
I think we'll end that conversation here now. You know, I think when you look at Chris Wilder and what he's achieved as well, in the face of, you know, some really disrespectful media comments and punditry that's been really ill-informed about Sheffield United and the way they play, and they've given their answer on the field to that, haven't they?
Oh yeah, definitely. They perform very well. The system suits them. Chris has done clever with it, and it suits the players, and they're well sold on the idea. And of course, when you're winning football matches, you know, people become sold on the system and everything else. And you know, I must say, I look around and I don't think too many of the Premier League managers know how to combat it. I think they certainly. The 4 games I've seen, none of them have successfully really got on top of it in terms of putting Sheffield United on the back foot.
No, I mean, and it's attractive, but there are various ways of skinning a cat. And I know that you were always, in your day, quite rightly irritated when people put down your style of football.
Yeah, well, it was a long ball, and it's been successful at Wimbledon. Howard Wilkinson was successful at Sheffield Wednesday. Graham Taylor was Watford, and we come to Sheffield United, and we had the right type of players. You know, after I went to Crystal Palace, we played with a sweeper. We threw it out of the back, and again when I was at Nottingham Forest and Barnsley, we didn't play long ball because the players didn't suit it. It would have been wrong to have done that. It suited Sheffield United because we had players like Bradshaw, Whitehouse, Gannon, Tony Agana, who were up for it. They were up for that hard work because, believe it or not, it's physically very demanding. It's more demanding on long ball than it is the other way around. People say it's not, but with the ball moving quickly to one end to the other, it's you know, the mileage covered, and we were always fit. All my teams were fit, and the players were fit.
John Gannon would certainly have agreed with you about that. The mileage he covered, and what a good footballer as well. We're going to go back shortly to the Leicester game at Filbert Street, as it was then. It was at the Walkers Stadium. But before we do, you and I enjoyed an evening together at Aberdale Sports Club quite recently. And one of my favourite stories from there concerned the manner of your sacking by Elton John at Watford. I know that both your appointments and your sacking by Elton was quite memorable.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he turned up at my house when the cup final. It was Everton and Liverpool when I came home, and I'd been asked to do the co-commentary, and my wife opened the door and she said, "There's somebody here to see you." And I'm thinking, who the hell's this? And all of a sudden, this character come flying out, you know, with colourful clothes on. And I'm thinking, God, Elton John. I mean, you know, I'm you know, fantastic entertainer, and I'm thinking, what the hell's he doing in my house? You know, I did think that the wife would have told him we didn't have a piano, but he didn't seem to be bothered about that. But you know, yes, he came, and he wanted me to be manager of Watford. Graham Taylor was going to leave on the Monday, and obviously Graham Taylor was well respected. He was a god at Watford, and this was going to be a surprise, and he was offering me the job. And really, we admitted after he offered it to me too early. I accepted it too early. We didn't do our due diligence. You know, the team were going to China, and it was a disaster. It wasn't going to work for various reasons, which I won't go into now. No,
but then when it finished, it was quite memorable. Well, and quite funny, actually.
Yeah, Elton's got a great sense of humour. He's a super guy. He's very quick. He's bright, knowledgeable, and everything else. And he likes to wind up. I mean, for my birthday, he knew I'm useless at DIY. He sent me a great big tool bag with all kits of screwdrivers and everything else on it. Well, I knew the sack was looming at that particular time, and we'd played Manchester United at home at Watford and played extremely well. Tony Agana had a fantastic game. That in the end they put Viv Anderson on him, marking him man for man, and we lost 1-0. It was about they only had about 2 shots a goal to our 20 odd, and Trevor Senior must have missed 6 sitters or whatever it is, and we lost 1-0. And I was due to just have. Dinner with my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and I got home and Chris said, "Oh, not a good result." And the phone went. It was Elton. He said, "Dave," he said, "Derek's on his way round to the house." He said, "I'm round John Reed's house."
John Reed was his manager, wasn't he?
John Reed was his manager, and he lived about 6 miles from where I did, or even a bit less. And anyway, he said, "Come round." So I said, "Oh, this is it, the tin tack. This is going to be interesting." So I turn up and there, Elton there, he's got a glass of champagne, he's looking good, you know, he was there, "Come in, Harry," you know, the bomb. And then John Reed's house, you know, beautiful house, immaculate and everything else. And we went into the lounge, he said, "Go on, sit down." And there was black and white cushions all over the place, a lovely white carpet, a cream couch, etc. And we sitting there, he said, "Well, we've come to a decision." He said, "But by the way, you're not very observant, are you?" I said, "Why?" He said, "That pillar, what is it?" I said, "What do you mean, what is it?" "It's a pillar." He said, "No," he said, "I think it's something else. Have a look at it." Anyway, I picked it up, and it's a pillar done in like a dice, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I said, "Oh, very nice." And that, yeah. He said, "Go on, throw it." I said, Well, what's the idea?" He said, "Well, 1 to 5, you're going to get a sack." So I thought, well, that's strange. I said, "What happens if I get a 6? He said, "You have another throw, don't you?"
That's brilliant. That's sacking somebody with style, that is.
Yeah, and then we got drunk. We got drunk, and then I got told off because I didn't get home till 4 o'clock. But no, he was a terrific fella. He looked after me really well at Watford, and it was a shame he made the wrong decision and I made the wrong decision. Right. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it because I may never have met Elton John.
Yeah, indeed. Talking of great times, let's go back to half-time at Filbert Street of Leicester City 2, Sheffield United 5, back in 1990. This is what happened at half-time. Let's have a look.
Now, Jock, the first corner, you've gone wandering out, this just gone over your head. Your man's gone out, Oldfield's gone beyond. We'd make a change on the corners. Elite, you'll pick up Kelly, Barnes' man. You'll pick Kelly up on the corners, OK? You'll then pick North up, the 5. OK? Yeah, Jock, you'll do the zone. OK?
Can we just sort that out as well? Like the last one, Chris was picking up righty. It was Dino and Bob picking up with 2, and we had no zone man. If our zone gets pulled out like Jock Bryson now, Mark, you've got to be across in the hole in the 3. Do you understand? No, you don't, obviously.
We took the corner? Yeah. No, he's marking at a corner.
Who's he marking?
Yes, he's marking at he's at the near post with Oldfield and James, him and Deansy there.
All right.
So it's him marking with
We
Deansy.
still need a zone in there.
Yeah, Wilf's the zone, in the corner.
What, in the front?
No, Jock's the zone, near post zone. Chris is on the edge. Jock's come off on taking nearly a mark instead of Jock. That's all the only difference. Well, right, it's on the edge of the box. Chris is on.
That's right.
Well, if he's out there, Will
What I'm saying is the 6-yard man has got to be in front. If he's out.
Yeah, Jock's got to get out, yeah.
Who's going to get together? Do your job. It's important we keep our shape at the back, the 2 centre-halves, because all they're doing is trying to pull you out and get the midfield runner in. So it's important, if one of you's gone, the other one's got to be in, and the 2 full-backs have got to be...
It looks like total confusion
Yeah, it
to
was.
me.
I think it was. Yeah.
You never thought you were leading 4-2.
Yeah, that's right. Woody was looking and thinking, what's this about? Yeah.
Jeff Taylor and you were kind of...
yeah, we were. To be fair, Jeff was right. I misunderstood what he said. That's a little bit sometimes with my dyslexia, you know.
You're dyslexic?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Not enormously, but, you know, get a few little ones that come creep in.
Oh, right.
And that, yeah.
Chris Wilder was mentioned in that chat as well, because he played for you that day, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. Chrissy was in the team, yeah. Chrissy had a good time. He was a Sheffield boy. He found it hard at times because I did drop him quite a few times and put him on loan and everything else. Chris was technically very good, but not the quickest. And you know, again, when we come up against quick wingers, he had a few problems. So once we were in the Premier League, he did play in the Premier League, and I think his last game was at West Ham when Slater absolutely destroyed him with an hat-trick and everything else. And that, but no, I mean, technically, and he was good. But we just needed, with the Premier League, when you're coming up against fast wingers like Giggs and Kanchelskis and people like that, you've got to have that bit more pace about it. But he was always a good pro, and as I say, he was there really till, you know, he was in the Premier League, and he then went on loan and made a career. He wanted to be a pro footballer. Unfortunately for him, he could have been a bit quicker.
Yeah, well, that's not really his fault, I suppose. It's a natural thing. You're either quicker, you're not in it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's you know, sometimes in certain positions you need the pace.
Well, despite that confusion at half-time, you went on to win that game at Leicester by 5-2 with some fantastic scenes at the end. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's a nice feeling to look back, and I had a good look at it. I haven't seen that for quite a while, you know. And
you don't need too much inviting to strip off, do you?
No. The underpants weren't worth a lot either, and that. But no, it was. I enjoyed it. It brings back great memories, and you forget sometimes later in life what you've achieved and what you haven't done. You can sometimes think of the things that you didn't do, and you don't give enough credit to the things that you did do, and that's a good moment. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah,
you look so calm actually at the end. I suppose if you're leading by 3 goals, you know you're going to win. Yeah. Or you think you're going to win.
Yeah, I was pleased. I think sometimes I don't always show my emotions. You know, it can be at different times and that. You know, I mean. I was absolutely delighted, obviously, you know, but you just want to savour it and hope it sinks in. Probably could have done with more, but it was one of those great days that you think back, and you don't always have many great days in football. I'm lucky that I've had quite a few at some stages. I've had some most devastating days, and the worst one was when Sheffield United got relegated with the last kick of the game at Chelsea.
Yeah, well, we won't go there because we've got 23 seconds left. So we know about that. The great days, let's dwell on those. And this has been a great show. I hope you agree. It's been really
Yeah, I've enjoyed it myself.
Yeah, I'm glad you have. I'm glad you have. And keep coming back to the Steel City. Great pleasure to welcome Dave Bassett. Thanks very much, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Repeat at 11 on my YouTube later. See you next week. Bye-bye.